So here we go again. We have a quotient rule coming up next. So again, the steps are going to be the same as before. We're going to need to label the first and the second function. We're going to need to label the derivatives of each one of those. So in this particular instance, the numerator is the first because it's a quotient rule, and the second is always the denominator. So kind of doesn't need a lot of thinking to do this. And so the derivatives of each are going to be 4 and 2x. And again, keep in mind that we're doing a quotient rule, so we're going to follow the arrow around, except this time with a minus sign. So in other terms, the derivative of the question, which is 4x minus 5 over x squared plus 3, is going to be a massive fraction. And we multiply the 4 with x squared plus 3. Then we subtract the 2x product with 4x minus 5. Okay, so this minus comes from the fact that this is a quotient rule. The 4 goes first, the x squared plus 3 goes next, the 2x goes next after the minus, and then finally the 4x minus 5 is at the very, very end. Now we need a denominator. If you don't write down the denominator, you're going to lose points. It's going to be marked wrong. So the denominator is the old denominator that was there, but with an extra square. And typically with these problems, we FOIL everything on the numerator, but we don't mess with the denominator. So at this point, I'm just going to start by FOILing everything on the numerator. And when I do that, I'm going to end up with 4x squared plus 12 minus 8x squared plus 10x. And again, the denominator is not going to be touched. So we're just going to copy it and just move on. And finally, combine like terms on the numerator, and you're pretty much finished. So 4x squared minus 8x squared is going to be negative 4x squared. I'm going to place the 10x next, and finally the 12. All divided by x squared plus 3, all to the power of 2. So that is the end of the question here. So pause the video here at this point and see if you can do the next one on your own, and I'll give you the answer in a few seconds. Okay, so hopefully you had some chance to try this one out. If you haven't, pause the video again and try it out. I'm going to start by writing the first function and the second, and then I'm going to write the derivatives of the first and the derivative of the second terms that I picked. So when we're doing a quotient rule, the first is always the numerator, the 2x cubed plus x. The second is always the denominator. And the derivatives of each one of those is going to be 6x squared plus the derivative of x, which is 1. The derivative of x minus 7 is going to be just simply 1. And keep in mind, this is a quotient rule, so you need to subtract. So finally, the derivative with respect to x of the original question, 2x cubed plus x over x minus 7, is going to be some sort of a fraction where we multiply the 6x squared plus 1 with x minus 7. Then we subtract the product of 1 with 2x cubed plus x, and we divide it by the old denominator squared. So I'll FOIL everything out and combine like terms and give you the answer next. So we have to multiply the 6x squared with the x, so that's going to give us 6x to the power of 3, then 42x squared, then 1x, and finally negative 7. Then we multiply the negative 1 with the x cubed. That's going to be negative 2x cubed. Sorry, not 2, 3. And then finally, negative 1 times x is going to be negative 1x. And let's check if there's any like terms to combine or add or subtract. So let's see. In this particular instance, we have 2x cubed and negative 2x cubed. 6x cubed and negative 2x cubed is going to be 4x cubed. We also have the negative 42x squared without any friends, so let's write that next. And then finally, we have 1x and also a negative x. So they're going to cancel each other out, and the negative 7 is left over. It's all divided by x minus 7 to the power of 2. And that is literally it. We're finished.